Greetings from Puerto Peñasco, Sonora, Mexico, also known as Rocky Point. I just finished a 4-hour drive to get here and couldn't help but think about Pete Rose, who died yesterday, one of the greatest baseball players ever. I'm not going to get into what kind of guy he was, but he was one of the greatest baseball players ever. And I have a great story that I don't want to die, and it has to do with Pete Rose. So take a walk on the beach with me and I'll quickly tell you. So this is going back a while. I don't know the year, but Pete was indicted and he was on his way to prison. And everyone in news and sports wanted an interview with Pete Rose, including me. I tried forever, unsuccessfully. And then finally one night, it's about 5 o'clock on the East Coast. I'm working at a TV station in Philadelphia and the phone rings. And I pick it up and he says, "Tommy Baldrick, Pete Rose, I'll do the interview." I'm like, what? I said, "Okay, great. When?" And he said, "Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I said, "Perfect." I said, "Do you want to come by the station?" Thinking Pete was in the Philadelphia area. And he said, "No, I'm in Tampa. Meet me at this location, at this golf course, at 10 a.m. Well, at that time, getting a flight, a camera crew, working at a local TV station didn't happen instantly. But I had to do it. So I got down there and I took a buddy of mine who was a huge baseball fan who couldn't believe he was going to get to meet and visit privately with Pete Rose. So we do the interview. And Pete did not admit to gambling. I remember saying to him off camera that I thought he was an adrenaline junkie. And perhaps he was so addicted to the crowd roaring and the competition that he should just admit that he had a gambling addiction, come clean, and maybe that would get the world to forgive him and get him into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He would have none of it. Anyway, we do the interview. And I don't think he did it for me. I think he did it for his teammate, Mike Schmidt. So, I've got the day in Tampa because I didn't know how long it was going to take. And I go to play golf with my buddy. And I'm using his wife's clubs. So they were too short for me, which gave me a great excuse to suck at golf that day. So, this particular hole was an elevated green. I hit the ball over the green and it goes all the way down the hill and it's an inch from a swamp. So the hole was so high, I couldn't even see where the pin was. So my buddy's like waving, like, okay. And then I see him and I hear him laughing and he says something to me that's not very nice and tells me to hurry up and hit it. And he says to look behind me, and I do. I turn around, and there's a gator who's very interested in me, and probably to a lesser extent my golf club. So I hit the ball, and I go running up the hill. The gator starts, and then he realizes I'm too nimble and quick. He's not going to catch me. Same day, we go to a bar across the street from the Tampa airport to celebrate the big interview with Pete Rose and the escape from the gator. And we're sitting there just having a beer. And then another. And then another. And then another. Finally, my friend says, "Hey, what time's your flight?" And I said, "I think at 8:45. We look at the clock, it's 8:30. We're across the street from the airport. This is pre-9/11, so there was no TSA check. So literally, we race out of there, drive across the street to the airport, and I am running as fast as I can to get onto this plane. And at that time, if you were really late for a flight, people wanted to help you. So I get to the gate, there's nobody there. They wave me down, hurry, 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 and the woman called ahead. And I get down to the end of the jetway, and the plane had just pulled away. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked down to see how high planes are off the ground, but they're high. There's a guy standing there with a radio, and I give him $20, like a scene from a movie. "Sir, I gotta get on that plane. I gotta get me on that plane. I gotta get on that plane." And he calls on the radio, but the engine's running so they can't hear him. So I reach in my pocket, I give him all the cash that I have, and I'm like, I gotta get on that plane. Because the Pete Rose interview needed to air the next day. So the guy calls on the radio again, they don't hear him. What does he do? I swear to you, this is true. He takes off his shoe, which was a loafer. He threw it at the cockpit window, and then he goes like this and waves to the pilots to come back. So they swing the nose of the plane around. Now I have to throw my bag onto the plane and then take a running leap, and I get onto the plane, and naturally I fall down, and I get on the plane and it's dead quiet, and people are looking like, who is this idiot who we just went back for? Long story short, the Pete interview aired the next day. I happened to be the only person who ever got an interview with Pete Rose before he went to prison. And I remember at the time it was a really big deal. But it's just such a great story of all the things that can happen in life if you just keep trying, and the magical and unexpected ways that they can happen. I will never have another day like that in my life. And I don't think there will ever be another baseball player like Pete Rose in my lifetime either.